Hello and welcome. I'm Tammy Braswell of Create by Vibration, and this is the Divine Perspective. It's a living transmission that expands the way you see, feel, and live your life. And I'm excited to be here with you, to be sharing this channeled transmission about allowing Source to handle the how. And before I get into this topic, there's just a few things that I would like to share with you so that you receive the most from this transmission. First, I invite you to be somewhere where you can close your eyes while you're listening so that you can go deeper within you and just receive the frequencies, the wisdom, the understanding that comes through these channel transmissions that I share. Also, to be open to receiving, to invite that receptivity within yourself, within your energy, to allow what's here for you to come to you, to be understood by you, even if it's not consciously in the moment, that information is moving within your consciousness. And the beautiful thing about expanding your consciousness is that every time you listen to something again, it expands more. Your awareness widens. You understand more. Your perspective becomes larger, and that view that you have of the world and the way that you live your life opens up in greater ways, allowing you to really connect with that divine part of you that is living this human experience. So I invite you to come back and listen to this multiple times as your consciousness expands. What you hear, what you receive will also expand. And I want to invite you to remember that this is of a energetic, spiritual, and metaphysical nature in what I'm sharing. So I invite you, in your self-choice and self-responsibility, to choose what you do with what you now know through this transmission, through what you now resonate with, through what you receive, because you get to choose the way that you move in the world, the way that you move in your life with these divine perspectives and understandings. So, let's get into allowing Source to handle the how. What's interesting is that from the time we're young, we are taught and conditioned to figure things out, to figure out things in life. And when we're younger and we're in school, we're given problems to solve, math problems, story problems, different problems, or even to look at the world situations through history, through science, through math, through all those topics that we're taught in school. But when we're taught them in school, and this is our beginning conditioning and training of the way the world's going to be, is that we are taught here is the problem, and the solution is already there for us, although we are supposed to figure it out. And then the answer will be there. The answer was in the back of the book. The teacher had the answer, the correct answer. And so we would figure out the problems within the parameters of the textbooks and the teachings, and we would come up with answers. And so, as children, We understood that there were problems and we figured them out, and then we had an answer. But those answers were already created ahead of time, and they already existed as a solution for what we were provided. Then we go out into the world, and life is full of situations. I won't necessarily call them problems, because life isn't one big problem or a bunch of problems. It is experiences. And that's, from my understanding, what our soul and source desire to experience through our humanness is experiences and the fullness of the experience. So from the beginning of whatever we start to form, in the creation of that experience and whatever takes form in it, and who we are and who our evolutionary expansion through it is. But problems, or perceived problems and situations in life, don't have a written or already planned out solution. It's more free-flowing. It's more, let's see what happens, experiences. So that teaching and that training when we're younger, where here's a problem, here's a solution. So life really does look like we're supposed to have problems and solutions, and we're supposed to solve them. And we're supposed to know how to solve them. How many books are written? And I'll use the how here. How many books are written called, how-tos? How to do this, how to do that. So somebody figured out the way to do something, and they put it in a book and say, this is how you do this. But what's interesting about life is each of our experiences is different. It's an opportunity for expansion. It's an opportunity for elevation. It's an opportunity for evolution within ourselves, our understanding, the ways that we live our life. So they're more open-ended. There's no one with a real answer, because how many how-to books are there on even similar topics, and they're not even the same. They don't even invite you down the same path. I just had an experience with my hot water heater, and I was maintaining it before, and I would watch videos. And do you know how many different options there were, or opinions, or techniques for maintaining a hot water heater? Some say drain it all the way. Some say just flush it, power flush it. Some say don't do it after this many years. Some say it's fine. I mean, which one's the correct one? They aren't consistent. I mean, you might find several of people saying more of the same thing, so then you could say, okay, well, that seems to be more common. I will do it that way. So we might choose the way to do something after we see multiple people showing a similar way. But what was the best way? I don't know, because I ultimately had my hot water heater replaced. And I asked, when I had the hot water heater replaced, I asked the plumber, well, what is the best way to do it? And he said, it can vary. So in the teachings and the conditioning that there is an answer for every problem, there is. But the interesting thing is once you're out of the textbook answers, life has many variables and infinite possibilities. Even though it might seem like there aren't infinite ones, I believe on some level there are infinite possibilities to anything. Because even every time you do something, or every experience that you have, of something, it can be slightly different. The elements of it can be slightly different. No experience is ever repeated exactly the same. So, with that understanding of we need to know the how as we go out into the world where there is not a textbook for every experience that we have, the human part of us starts to say, I'm not sure how to do that. I don't necessarily have a reference point of how to do that. And then that's where stress, anxiety, upset, worry, doubt, and fear, and many other emotions can come in that say, I really don't know how to do this. I don't know the how. And we're sitting trying to figure it out. And all the elements that I just said, the trying and the figuring, create more stress because we're unsure. And the thing about the human part of us, it likes familiarity, it likes safety, it likes security, it likes the known. That's why we fear stepping out of our comfort zone. And not because we're not courageous or bold, but that part of us that says, wait, let's stay safe, then gets upset that it can't figure out the how of something. And the more that we trust Source, trust ourselves in our choices, but trust Source to support us, we start to see that the how isn't ours. And although we were taught and conditioned to figure things out, as we experience life, we realize that we can't figure everything out, that there isn't a solution or what seems like an easy or obvious solution. Now there is one, because that's polarity. For every what's perceived as a problem, there would be a solution as well. The problem would be the lower side, the solution would be the higher side. And they're not at the same frequency. But if our human's always thinking that is unsure of how to figure these things out in this vastness of infinite possibilities, that also creates hesitation in trusting that there are infinite possibilities, that experiences of our life can show up in any form, in any way, and that we are really not going to know what those are because our humanness has more limited information, especially as we go through life and the next step is unknown. Even when we wake up in the morning and think, okay, today I'm going to do this, this, and this. If you have a routine, maybe you're going to go to work and you're going to do something after work and then ultimately you'll go to bed and you'll start the day over again. And you have a plan, but then unexpected things show up. You get a phone call and something over here has occurred that now needs your attention. Or something changes throughout the day in yourself or something in your experience in your outer world, someone around you. And then you have to reevaluate what's going on and change your choices because that wasn't part of the planned day. Most days aren't just planned days. There are things that show up. And the human part of us starts going into the conditioned understanding of, I have to figure it out. I have to figure it out. But I don't know how to figure it out. So now I'm going to be stressed and worried and anxious because I'm unsure of how I'm going to figure it out. And if you're listening to this, or since you're listening to this, I won't say if is a wobble word. So since you're listening to this, you're someone who recognizes that there's more to this life experience. And you're not likely sitting in the doubt, worry, anxiety, fear, energy. But often people sit in that energy and remain in that energy. And they sit in that energy because the human part of them doesn't know how to figure it out. And so they actually have a futuristic anxiousness about what could come next that they can't figure out because they couldn't figure other things out. So, allowing Source to handle the how is very powerful in shifting those frequencies, those denser, more constricted energies that people will sit in and even preempt their life in because of experiences that they've had. But more people are becoming aware that there's greater possibilities. And so they're shifting into opening themselves up to what that is, to what is possible. So bringing it more into your conscious awareness that Source handles the how. When I understood this many years ago, I realized that I didn't have to carry the how anymore, that I didn't have to figure everything out, that it wasn't on me to figure things out to that level. So I didn't have to be anxious about it. I didn't have to sit and worry about it. I instead turned it over to Source. I started saying, okay, I don't know the how. I recognize that my human does not know the how in this situation. So I'm going to hand that how over to Source and allow it to handle the how. To trust that it knows the how. And the how is all the elements of the experience that I can't and have yet to be able to imagine from where I'm standing. We can't see that broader picture of every piece that's available. So there's more to this transmission, and you can receive the full experience through the link in the description.